so in chapter 46, what do we have here? We can do it. And so Israel took his journey with all that he had. We rebuke all unbelief in the room right now, Lord. Both in visitor and member alike. And so Israel took his journey with all that he had, and he came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And so he goes now just to the city of Beersheba just before Canaan turns into Egypt. And then the Lord spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "I am God, the God of your father. Don't be afraid to go down to Egypt." Why not? "For I will make of you a great nation there, and because I will go down with you to Egypt. And I will also surely bring you up again, and Joseph will put his hand on your eyes." And here is Jacob about to leave the promised land. God, this is going on, the famine, the everything. Looks like you're working all this out, and yet this is the promised land, and I'm moving down into Egypt here. Are you in this? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And as eager as he is to see Joseph, he's more eager to be in the will of God. And so the Lord knows his fear. The Lord comes to him and speaks to him. "It's of me. It's of me. And what I'm going to do, Jacob, is I'm going to take and make of you a great nation." And that's why they're going down into Egypt. This band of 70 people heading down there, descendants of Jacob. 70 people, a good-sized family, but they're not a nation. They're not a nation. And God is going to put them into the incubator of Egypt to make them a nation. And so this is what he has in mind. He says, Joseph is going to put his hand on your eyes. In other words, when you die, he's going to be with you and he's going to put your eyelids down. And so, of course, there's no greater comfort than to know that when I die, that those who love me will be around me. And God reassures him of that. And then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones and their wives, and the carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And so they took their livestock and their goods, which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt, Jacob and all his descendants with him. And his sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his descendants he brought with him to Egypt. And then in verses 8 through 25, he names the names of all of these people. And you'll excuse me for jumping that. I will leave that for you to go ahead and muddle through. Verse 26, all of the persons who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his body, besides Jacob's sons' wives, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2 persons, and all the persons of the house of Jacob who went into Egypt were 70. And so when they leave Egypt, as we'll see in a couple of weeks, in the book of Exodus, having gone in, this family of 70, after 400 years they will leave as a nation of between 2 and 3 million people. God makes them a nation. And so he knew what he was doing. He knew what it was that he had in mind. And then he sent Judah before him to Joseph to point out before him the way to Goshen. And they came to the land of Goshen. And so Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. And he presented himself to him and fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said to Joseph, now let me die, since I've seen your face, because you are still alive. And Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh and say to him, my brothers and those of my father's house who were in the land of Canaan have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for their occupation has been to feed livestock, and they have brought their flocks, their herds, and all that they have. And then Joseph gives them instruction and says, so shall it be when Pharaoh calls you and says, what is your occupation? He knew that Pharaoh would do this. It was the custom of the Pharaohs, interestingly enough. He said, this is what you shall say to Pharaoh. Your servant's occupation has been with livestock from our youth even till now, both we and also our fathers, that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. And so he says, now listen, when they come and they ask you, Pharaoh asks you what it is that you do for a living, don't get fancy schmancy. Don't tell them you're a livestock engineer or anything like that. Don't try and put another name on it. Just tell them what you are. You're a shepherd. Now here's the reason I want you to tell Pharaoh that you're a shepherd, and I'm sure you'll understand why when I tell you. Because shepherds are an abomination to the Egyptians. Okay, that makes sense to us, Joseph. And the whole idea was, because shepherds were an abomination to the Egyptians, Pharaoh would give them the land of Goshen, wonderful land for raising livestock, and then would not only not, with the Egyptians would not intermingle with them because they were Hebrews, but the Egyptians would not intermingle with them because they were mere shepherds as Hebrews. And so it was a way of being separated, which is exactly what God wanted to do with these people, to keep them separated, to make a nation of them. Let's always let honesty produce whatever separation it may in our lives. It's good to speak the truth, to speak honestly. And if that produces separation, then it produces separation. God wanted separation here. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to speak the truth.